mate, and welcome to Friday Facts number 390, Noise Expressions 2.0, with my good friend, Noisy Mojo. How you doing?
Hello, noisy friend.
Thanks, mate. Hello. We've had a lot of requests to talk about map generations. Difficult to talk about map generation without first explaining noise expressions. From time to time, we need to talk about noise expressions anyway, because they're a critical part of the game. But I don't think we've ever done a good job explaining what they actually are at a high level. We will a closer look. Yep. Take a closer look at map gen again in the future. But for now, we're going to introduce the basic concepts and act as a primer for later. Now, Mojo.
Well,
Yep.
yes. Well, I can already see there's a terrifying prospect of having another one of these.
This is it's a Friday facts and a half, but it's all the facts, and it definitely came out on Friday, and none of it's really interesting. It's technical. It's technically interesting. Just like, technically if somebody gives you milk, technically it's ice cream. It's just
technically
not
you
quite
can get
there
milk
yet.
from Canada. It just comes in a bag.
Yeah. So, I don't think anybody who want to know anything about map gen want to know what was in here, but let's continue anyway. So what are noise expressions? The expression part. When making a game model in Factorio, you need to decide what gets placed where. All you have to work with is the X and Y coordinates. The terrain generator can't know anything about what's already placed. Somehow you need code that converts X and Y into a tile to play, the type of tile to place, which trees, rocks, resources, decoratives, cliffs, and enemies to place. So, in the middle of the map, where X and Y is both zero, is the origin and starting point. We always want this to be land, otherwise you're stuck in water. Remember those, Mojo?
Yes, I do. There's even a rule about it on Reddit. No starter islands.
Yeah, no talking about starter islands, no talking about starting on water, and there was another one.
Forget what it is now.
Yeah, and then since then we had the island variant, so you can actually choose to start on island should you want to. So yes, we always want this to be land over second water. We calculate distance from the origin, and get a distance cone, which we make to use a circular island where everything above some value is land, otherwise it's water. So this is how we led to, technically on an island start, when it first was introduced, it was very roundish. And you still can get round ones, it's just a little bit rarer.
It's a bit of an oddity.
Yeah.
But at the very least, it means that when you start out, you get some cones.
Oh, God. So, although there's no need to change the probability of both tiles at once, we only need to make sure that the tile we want has the most influence where we want it. For example, land could always have a weight of 1, and then water could just have a weight higher than 1 if we want water to appear. If we add the values X and Y coordinates before it goes in the distance function, then shifts the cone to a different position, offset cones can be used to make new islands, add a section of the existing land, or invert new cones to take chunks out of an island. So then we have so close to being a Pac-Man. Close.
So here we have 2 freshly baked Christmas cookies, and someone's taken a bite out of one already.
Yeah, it would be you, wouldn't it?
Well, no, I'd just eat the whole thing. I wouldn't take a bite out of it and put it back.
You wouldn't leave the evidence behind.
No evidence. No.
Okay.
Perfect crime. No evidence.
So we also have most of the arithmetic operators like absolute value, mondo, exponents, and
modulo.
That's modulo.
Modulo, yes. What is mondo?
I had no idea. It's the 23rd. Okay, I quit. I've called in my Christmas break. I'm done. Exponents.
We've been trying to read this for the last hour too.
Yeah, let's just leave that.
It's been very entertaining.
Yep, and trigonometry functions. The trigonometry functions are used to rotate positions instead of just using offsets, and that's the main trick to the starting area of Vulcanus. The core part of the expressions is we can change this operation together to do things like test 1 equals A plus B times C. Everybody likes algebra, but we can also make
simple
noise expressions reference the output of one test, e.g. test double equals test 1 times 2. So this is great. You can make an interesting crop circle pattern if you want to, but this is not great for a natural landscape. We want to make some noise, but I can definitely see a future playthrough where we're going to have crop circles as terrain. I think that'd be interesting.
Dubai.
Well, that's the only way you put the nice houses.
Yeah, that's where you put the Nice houses? No, no. Or do you put? Where do you put the biters? Did you put the biters on
On the nice
the
house land, on the nice house land, because
on
they
the
actually
first one or the
got to the
second one?
nice house land, whereas in Dubai they just sold the nice house land and then didn't actually build it. But anyway, let's continue. The noise part. So terrain generation noise does not mean sound, it just means random numbers. When making random numbers, the most basic setup is to generate completely random numbers every single time you need one. This is called incoherent noise. There's no point, and no point has any relation to any other point. If you zoom in, you just get more complete randomness, so the usefulness is quite limited. Coherent noise is different. It makes good use of the x and y coordinates, so nearby values can have similar values. This means as you move over landscape, things can change smoothly and coherently. Mojo, you've got old maps, right? Where you've
Yeah.
upgraded from one version to the other and they've changed the noise and the map generation functions.
Yep.
And you get a very fine border where
Yeah, you get a very subtle transition from one version of the map gen to the next.
and not always is it chunk aligned. Like sometimes there have been changes to how the noise works. So, sometimes it might just go grass straight to desert at the end of a chunk. Other times it might be a little bit smoother and you get a slight transition ish, but definitely harsher than you get normally.
Um, because the random seed and everything changes, it's always a hard transition. But you do actually see things like tile transition. It does change as you step across the different versions.
Oh,
So
okay.
as you cut through the different strata, like the older ones are more like incoherent noise of randomness, whereas the newer ones are more coherent,
Okay. Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, sort of. So the main coherent noise we use is bias noise, a Poland style noise from Friday Facts 112, which is so long ago that I even had to look it up as a reference point. The output values end up with an approximate feature size. So if you zoom out, I think it was distinguishable from incoherent noise, but if you zoom in, making the features larger, then everything keeps smoothing out till it's almost flat. It's much like,
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
Up until a particular version, I forget which one, all maps were actually the same map.
it was version
I forget
14-ish,
which one.
14, 13. The speedrunners found it. The speedrunners found
Yeah,
it
the
because
speedrunners found it.
they generated thousands of maps. And they're like, hang on, I've seen this map, I've seen this map, I've seen this map, because it was
Yeah.
just a different offset for where the player was starting.
Yeah, it was like 100 tiles or 1,000 tiles offset from this other map. And it
Yeah,
turns out that, yeah, every map is actually the same map.
it was all one seed, that's all they had. Well, the seed affected literally where you started on that one map. But
Yeah.
yeah, the noise generation, it's much like using the feathering tool inside, any sort of photo editing program that everybody's probably used. And if you take a selfie, your camera's probably, well, the software on your phone's probably using now. It feathers out your winkles for you. So yes, that's pretty much what the Poland style noise is. It's not random, but each pixel, because Mojo told me I can't use tiles, each pixel takes a reference to what's beside it and sort of make sure we're not going hard black to white. Whereas random noise is, yeah, there's no grays. It's going to be hard black to white everywhere. So yes, this is great because they use noise with a huge feature size for continents, medium size for islands and bays, and a smaller noise to break up the coastline a little bit more. Multiple levels of different sizes are added together with small layers having progressively less impact as they add smaller details to certain areas, which is why they're using this type of noise, and it's why the feathering tool in photo editing software is really helpful sometimes. So then we have spot noise. So spot noise creates a number of spots in the landscape with a certain amount of spacing. This is where what they use for resource placement. So each spot's actually a cone. So if we go back to our example up here, yep, cone like that,
Back
poking
on
up
the
from the ground.
cones.
Oh god. Yep, we're going to have high richness in the middle of each patch. The resource cone is then protrude by adding some basic noise, so it's not a clean circle. If you want to read more about spot noise, recommend checking the Friday Facts 258. And yeah, you can see
So
more often than
something I was
not.
going to point
Yep.
out. You notice on the left, you can actually see where it's generated the ore on top of water.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Oh,
Yep.
you're about to say.
Yeah. Often your resources, they do exist. They just happen to be underwater.
Yeah, the water deletes them.
Look, we've got landfill now. We can undo landfill now. So surely we can have underwater resources, right? We can have the iron underwater, and all you got to do is like Dyson Sphere. You just add
Deep
some.
sea dredging.
Well, no, you add some foundation to raise it up to the surface, and then you've got more ore. That seems fine to me.
I think there's a command to regenerate decoratives. I don't know if you can. There is one specifically for ore, but conceivably, if you landfilled all the water and then regenerated the ore, you could then generate the patch on top of the
I think
landfill.
there is, but if you regenerate the ore patches, it regenerates even the patches you've half mined out.
Yes, it does. It resets everything.
Yeah, so it's not just a localized area; it's the whole map. But yeah, actually, I it's something I haven't seen as a mod in Factorio. I can't believe I'm saying that. I've thought of something that doesn't actually already exist as a mod in Factorio. But yeah, being able to landfill an area and have the resources come back to the surface.
I mean, I don't know why you would want it, but yeah,
Oh,
that's true.
hang on, Mojo. Have you
Unless it was a
seen?
water world.
Have you seen that you can get your own specialized custom characters for Factorio, like skins, character skins?
Regrettably, yes.
Yes. So
I've seen
don't
the
ask.
reviews and
Don't ask. Okay, I don't know why you'd want it because obviously somebody wants everything. Okay, so putting it all together, the real power comes from artistic control over these things and finding the master required to do it effectively. There's a couple of examples. Spot noise is not just for resources; we use it for volcanoes. We add huge spot cones to the elevation to make to make the main volcano body. We also invert the cone and add a min to the tip to invert the mountain peak for a lava pit. So we bring it all the way up, and then we add I don't know what, minus 1.45 to make sure that we have a little bit of a peak at the bottom or a dip at the bottom to have the lava pit at the top.
volcanoes are cones confirmed.
Yep. These sort of inversions are critical for some things. If you want to have a mostly water map, then you can reduce the elevation, but it'll tend to make islands. What if you want a mostly water map, but still want to have most of land connected? For this, we use the absolute value and bounce any negative value to be positive. If we then invert it, all the values are negative, but then a small addition bumps a narrow band into the positive region. Makes a series of narrow land bridges that almost always connect. We use this sort of pattern in the volcanoes area to make sure there is a way through the maze. It's also used in... There's another type of map generation you can do, and I can't remember what it's called. So you have the island start, which I think is still limited to one island.
Yeah, it's still one island and then generates like water all around it.
Yeah. But they have...
There is actually land around it. You do it at landfill. I haven't done island start in a very long time.
I've only seen them with up to 3 islands, and it was like a big island and maybe 2 tiny ones, either side. I've never seen one with multiple islands, but there are mods out there that do this sort of stuff where you can have an island start which has a tiny land bridge, which will then take you to more islands and more islands and more islands, so you can keep expanding away and building a factory over, well, in theory, with landfill turned off, some very narrow rail bridges. Mojo would love it.
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
I do remember I started a game in version 12 which was an isolated island, but it was big enough that I was able to get red-green science just about going, and I had like 2 or 3 biter nests, and then eventually, with enough exploration, I found out I was like, oh, this is actually an island.
Yeah, actually an island, and sometimes your islands don't come with enough stone to get off the islands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we have those rules on Reddit for a reason. So, this brings us to noise tools. Now, noise tools are the important part, because this is brought to us by Arendelle. So, before during Woob, I was working on new planets for my space exploration mod, and still am. In space exploration, each planet type will have a unique map generation, a bit like the planets in Space Age. Making just one completely new planet is a huge amount of work, so when embarking on making 14 plus new types, wow, I decided to invest in making some new tools to make the process easier. This resulted in my own set of noise tools that do a number of things. Autoplace cleaning, so testing is much faster. Planet switching presets to be able to preview other planets. A convenient inline way to add temporary debug sliders so the noise expression values can be adjusted from the map preview screen. And last but not least, the ability to use the map preview to visualize the expressions directly, output directly, which I think is the most important one.
I think it's most valuable because it means you don't actually have to load a map.
Yeah, and you can tweak things because that's the thing. He's already added a way to debug the sliders as he goes.
Yeah.
But by hitting the preview button, you get a new look at the map with the new values set, and you can have a look. So the last bit of noise and visualization is really difficult to do without. Without, you are very detached from the output of the system. Let's say, for example, you add a new bit of code that's supposed to make some of the existing sand on the map go from a yellow version to a red version. Didn't we have red sand in Factorio that never showed up?
Yes.
You load up the game, one around, you don't see any red
And
sand.
it became yellow.
Yeah.
They removed all the red from it.
I think we found some eventually in one version of Factorio. It would be a little patch here and there.
It is actually still in the game. It's just not red anymore.
Okay. It's still called Red Sand Butt?
Yeah, it's still got the same name.
Okay. It was originally red.
Yeah, it was a very deep red, and it's they removed it.
Yeah. So what went wrong? It could be a number of things. Maybe it's actually working, but coincidentally, all the areas that should be red happen to be underwater, and grass instead of sand. More likely, though, if you explore a large area and still don't find any, then it's broken somewhere. But where? The noise visualizer lets me choose a specific noise expression and convert that to an image in the preview screen. That way I can see things like distribution and output of values, expressions, to things like the scale is way larger than I thought, so I don't need to go 10 kilometers to find any difference. The output range is too low and it's never strong enough to make a change. Or maybe one value accidentally goes negative, multiplies with another negative value, and causes some other unexpected problems. This is like when you suddenly, add prod mods and speed beacons to one part of the build, and then suddenly realize that the whole factory is broken because one thing's chewing all the resources and nothing else can run.
That just means you got to get more.
Yeah, well, that's not really possible when you're playing with a noise filter to make a map once.
Yeah.
That ship sailed. So, left we have the Navis map as you normally see it. Right is the elevation. Blue is elevation below 0, with darker blues being deeper. Yellow is high, green is very high, used for water and for cliffs. Oh, so
You notice how the highest cliffs are, or the highest peaks where the green is surrounded by cliffs. So you can get an idea of how cliffs behave.
Yes. Yes, but also there's some green down the bottom right-hand corner, which has no water anywhere near it. So it's not enough water being green in a large enough area to actually get trees and liquid. Yeah, so this is a handy visualization to look at. But then this brings us to the next one. It really shines when working on multiple biomes. Usually if you just want it on a tile change the indicator, you can see that a change has happened when going from one biome to another. But you can't tell what the rate of change is like. Often a soft rate of change is better so vegetation can fade out as things get drier, but usually there's no way to see that ahead of time. With the visualizer, you can tell the biome transition is hard or soft because it can display up to 255 different values to show you the gradient. And then here we have our Volcananus with...
Yeah, same thing again with temperature and height.
Yeah, temperature and height. So this is blue elevation is below 0, darker values being deeper, yellow is high, and green is very high. So we can see where the volcanoes are on this slide. And then on the right side, we have the temperature. So black is cool, red is warm, yellow is hot, used for placing hot tile sets. So we can see in the volcanoes, we get that yellow. What did you call
volcanoes be hot?
Yeah, volcanoes be hot. This little blue patch down here that's now become very, very yellow is going to be a whole pile of lava. So this is like...
Yeah, that's a lava lake?
Yeah, it's the equivalent of water because everything is lava. Yeah. Everything is lava. But
everything blue is lava in this. We eventually worked out.
Yeah.
And the big patch in the middle is the ashlands, which you build on.
Yeah, so that's the ashlands, which is going to be full of cliffs, which won't show up on this particular map.
Yeah, it doesn't. Cliffs don't show up on this.
Yeah, but good luck, have fun. Yeah. Also means that yes, if they're saying that yellow is hot, used to place hot tile sets, that means that yes, we're now going to have rather than having big, large lakes, you're going to have lots of creeks, water crossings. I don't know what you would really call it, marshland. But it'll be a lava marshland with hot tile sets in it.
Swamp.
Swamp,
Lava swamp.
yeah, a lava swamp. Yeah, when we're talking about liquid water, liquid, yeah, swampland really. Except it'll be full of lava and have hot tile sets in it. So extra lava-y looking lava, cool. But it also means that they're indicating they're going to put tile sets in the water, which they've never done previously. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm curious. Like, obviously, inside the volcanoes, they're going to have tile sets around the volcano. So maybe it's just around the yellow bits, but maybe it's in the yellow bits. I don't know. So the way that works is tiny bit hacky because it runs as a mod, not part of the game engine. Essentially gets all the tiles in the game, changes the map colors to different values from black to white or blues to reds to greens, and then it reassigns those tiles only appear where it's based on the noise expression you're trying to visualize. Using blue for values below 0 and other hues above 0 is very useful for elevation because it makes the 0 line transition very clear. It's important because that tends to be our coastline. You can't really play the game like this because it's invaluable in early stages of a new planet when trying to debug something. So naturally, when I started making planets at Woob, I updated my tools so I could use them for space age. Pretty confident saying that these tools, I can work on a planet about 10 times faster. Not only that, but Guinness, yep. And I've been working on some fancy new noise functions that will reveal along with a new planet later. These noise functions have a lot of settings to try and get them all work without my noise tools would not have been fun. In fact, I have my doubts we were ever able to finish all the features of the new system without some way of seeing what we were doing. I released noise tools for 2.0 when the expansion is released. He has already released noise tools, i.e. the ones he's using currently. And actually, I was looking on the mod portal an hour ago, and they've only been updated like 2 days ago. So he has made his current tools available to other modders that want to try and take on the space exploration size of mod sets, I guess you could call it, size of mod.
It's sort of his pre-release he's put up already, because inevitably someone else is going to do it.
Yeah. So then we get into map generation, and we're going to skip a whole lot of this because it's technical, very technical.
It took you a long time to read it the first time.
Yes, and I comprehend some of it. And for the record, how much do you comprehend?
Not much.
Exactly. Okay, so
it gets deep into the weeds of data structures, which is not something I'm so strong at.
Yeah. And I'm just stuck at all sorts of programming, but I'm all right in distinct programming, surprisingly. So
Is it because you outsource it?
I do that too. But I've done my own programming in desync and it actually worked out well. So, when the first Vulcanizer's map generation overhaul was merged, we noticed a significant slowdown as we launched the game and generated the planetary terrain. It would have been a mild inconvenience for players, but launching the debug version many times a day made it very noticeable. So it'd either have to give up on the fancy map generation or spend some time to make it faster. Map generation already runs in multiple threads where possible, and we try to optimize the code for SIMD execution, single instruction, multiple data. Runtime map generation is therefore efficient enough to which it generally matched what we observed about volcanoes. The issue had to be somewhere else. As I dived deeper and deeper into noise expressions, I found some areas for improvement. So, then we're going to go into stuff and things that we're just not going to read. Just no.
Some mathematics and data structures.
Because
C++ doesn't really have proper data structures, so you've got to build it all manually from individual atoms.
Okay. And the base game had 31,000 objects, and Vulcanus had 280,000 objects. And then
a lot of generation.
Yep, and then they reduced the things, and they were saved about 125 mega RAM, which actually doesn't sound like a lot, but that's 125 mega RAM that's had to pass through the CPU probably multiple times, according to this stuff. So
hundreds of thousands of times potentially, which is a significant bottleneck.
Yep.
Non-X3D users.
And then they made the surface 15 times faster. Yep. And then they optimized it more. And then a long time ago, they introduced Lewin noise expressions way back in what do we say?
2017.
2017, yeah. So you could use Lua to, make custom noise generation. And one of my mods actually
Yep.
did that and had a map that looked like a fingerprint, except the lines of the fingerprint were cliffs. It was not an interesting, well, it was an interesting map. It was not a friendly map at all. We basically rushed spiders because walking anywhere was a nightmare.
That would be a bit of a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Undergrounds were very important. Also, I learnt very quickly which cliffs you could underground under and which ones you couldn't.
Oh yeah.
And to find your resource patch was based over 4 or 5 different levels of cliffs, which if you couldn't reach a tile meant that sometimes you had to take a 10-minute detour to walk up to the next level because it was bad. It was bad. But you could do it. And they introduced it a little while ago. And most people,
if you had Squeak Through going, Squeak Through actually breaks some of the cliff collisions.
edges. Yeah.
There's like 1 or 2. No, it was 2 or 3 cliff edges which Squeak Through reduces your hitbox enough so you can actually squeeze through them because there's a gap in them.
Let's not. So maybe many people claim is pure magic and hard to work with. No, many people say it's black magic. And yeah, more work and further work and the results. So the results are the important part. So several iterations past since the first Vulcanized map prototype, individual noise expressions have been optimized as well, together with C++ improvements. What took 18.35 milliseconds per chunk, which is like one frame, one whole frame of a game, like your 60 FPS.
Plus change.
What do you mean plus change? Oh yeah, a little bit extra. Sure.
It's 16. It's 16.6 something.
Whatever. It's close enough.
So it's frame plus change.
Close enough. But the point is, you're not generating one chunk at a time. When you fire like an artillery shot or just walk up to the edge of the map, you're going to be generating 10 or 20 or 30 chunks at a time.
Yes.
So you're going to suddenly drop to 30 FPS. So it generates those chunks. And then it back up to 60. And then you're going to...
The game was when it generates, it's going to freeze for that length of time.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing 10 at once, it's going to freeze for 10 times that, so 118.
Yeah, like half a second. You're just gonna stop and then go and then stop. And if you fire an artillery shell, well, good luck. We already know what it's like.
A whole chain of artillery shells.
We already know what it's like.
Slideshow. It's going to stutter like crazy. The thing is, it won't be consistent. It'll just be this random stuttering.
Yeah, that would be the worst part. Like
that's what makes it worse.
Yeah. So they went from 18.35 down to 2.8. For Vulcanus, and basic game initialized prototype 7% faster and 87% in less time spent on noise expression. Narva's noise programs are compiled 85% faster. Thanks to things they trimmed out, they dropped from 6,000 types of noise operations down to just over 2,000. And they now have 25% faster chunk generation on average from 4.8 down to 3.5, which means the very important thing is when you get your artillery train, and you fire it everywhere to explore the map really quickly, it's now going to happen 25% faster because those chunks are going to generate 25% faster.
Important. 25% faster biters retaliating as well.
That's fine. By then you move the train on. But also, just as importantly, it means that Narva's chunks take 3.5 milliseconds, whereas the Vulcanus takes 2.8 milliseconds.
So Vulcanus is faster now.
Faster or simpler also means that if you fire the artillery shells off on that planet, you get less lag. That's going to be important too.
There you go. You got to get artillery over there as soon as you can.
Yep. So most of it was written by scratch. Spent about 4 months working on the C++ side of map generation. Well worth it because not only do I have a faster system than something off the shelf, but it also made it more maintainable. We easily add new noise expression types as we need them. Design it was a fun challenge. Your definition, my definition of fun, very, very different. Systems that may be a bit over-engineered just for map generation, but at least they have a solid foundation which we could reuse in other projects if they wanted to. And then we have Arendelle giving us a Merry Cogmas. Very, very Merry Cogmas, which has already been released as a mod and will turn your Christmas tree into, your rocket silo into a Christmas tree.
A rocket silo into a Christmas tree or just a placeable Christmas tree. I believe it had the option.
I want both.
Yeah, you can place the Cogmas tree on the ground or replace the rocket silo with a tree in a mod option.
I want both. I want to be able to place them around, launch them randomly, and launch them into space. Yeah.
Places the rocket with a tree.
course, of course, of course. But we have this lovely image. Now, this lovely image has a couple of tidbits in it. First off,
Does.
we have, what was this called? The Foundry.
Foundry?
We have a Foundry at the bottom right.
Bottom.
We can tell because it's frozen over, because hell froze over. At least it's in the factory. We also have, this is a flipped chem plant, because
Yep, it's a flipped chemical plant.
the liquid's normally in the bottom right-hand corner, so that's in the bottom left. So it's been flipped and rotated and blah, 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 blah. And then we have...
The other rotation, I believe, is down the bottom.
Yeah, it is. And this is a flipped, rotated, something, flipped again. I have no idea. I'm lost. It's a chem plant. It's definitely a chem plant. I just have no idea what orientation is in anymore. It's so twisted and turned and stuff. Yeah. Which actually means that... Because they're now got a flip version, they've had to re-render all the graphics with another orientation, I assume.
I think it probably just takes what's already there and flips it.
I don't ever remember the pipes on the left-hand side going over the top, ever.
Unless it's rearranging.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, because
See, like I said, play the game forward, backward, left to right. Yeah, well, I know the game back to front along with all the assets. Speaking of assets, down the bottom left-hand corner, off the edge of the screen, we have this building here hooked up to this pipe, which has the weird gassy thing, the flex
doesn't
pipe.
look like anything that we know yet.
Well, it does. It looks like the green thingy from the Friday Facts number 372 postcard from a while ago, just a little while ago, like last Christmas. It's this green thingy, which I'm assuming it's either a container that we keep biters in, and we feed them a gas, because I think you can gas biters.
And the biter is sort of stabbing it.
Yeah. So I think you can buy gas biters. I think that's allowed. I don't think that's against the Geneva Convention, but I'm not sure. And then on the far left-hand side, which is even harder to spot, this one.
I didn't even see this one.
We have a zoomed-in image, zoomed right the way in to get this little image here. Has these red and green wires on a blue machine, which if we go back to the postcard is this blue machine here of sparky goodness.
Machine from the postcard.
Yeah, so now we know what all three machines sort of look like. Sort of. In a rough way.
And presumably it's one for each planet, or it could be, one could be the lander from getting down from the space.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. I think the green one is we know we get resources up by launching them in a rocket, but how do we get them down? And I think the green one is the answer.
See, I like the idea of just throwing stuff off the side and just trying to land it inside furnaces and assembly machines.
No, you wouldn't be throwing it off. You'd use an inserter and you'd be placing it carefully in space where it would fall. But that's already how you dispose of things you don't need.
The extra long inserter.
No. Because then you need an extra long belt. And that's going to look stupid, Mojo. That's going to look stupid.
Well, you wouldn't have the belt. You just have the extra long inserter pick up from the platform and put it down on a belt or on the machine on the planet.
Not a big curvy belt that brings it like halfway down, so it gets a good. This is why the belts don't need power. Okay, it's all run on gravity and physical mechanics. By the space platform puts all the resources high in space, and that pushes the belt down, carrying those resources, which then makes all the other belts work. Right?
Factorio was actually an ant farm, confirmed, like oxygen not included.
Yeah.
It's actually on its side.
The other thing that we have is we have this pump check. Plumbing into this chem plant and then onto, this refinery. That's definitely a refinery. It's a flipped rotating one, but it's definitely a refinery. And we're putting oil straight into a chem plant. The only thing I know that does that is flamethrower fluid. Because that takes just oil.
Fuel. That goes crude oil.
Yeah, but it definitely doesn't have a second pipe in, let alone a third pipe or a fourth pipe.
I wonder if we're finally getting a resource that is a liquid like oil that is something else.
Well, we already have the furnace thingamajiggy bobs, the blast furnace thingamajiggy bobs, that can
Yeah,
give you
it
metals.
draws for an offshore pump though,
Well,
so
it
it doesn't
draws
draw from
lava
coal.
from an offshore pump. So glad they didn't call it a water pump because they'd be screwed right now. But
Yeah.
it draws from an offshore pump that brings in lava, that pumps it into the foundry, which will then convert it into plates or into liquid metal. So we already have liquid metal of several different varieties. Plus we have lava. Plus we have water. Plus we have the petrochem fluids. But now we have oil plus other fluids into a chem plant to do a thing. I don't know what the thing is. I'm also very sad that all the beacons are sitting here and have no modules in them. That's just
Yeah, that's
sad.
disappointing. That's just, I mean, they're just there drawing power for not achieving anything. I mean, this whole thing is entirely contrived anyway, so I'm not too concerned.
I'm super concerned. I'm super concerned. I'm also concerned. Has it been answered whether we can put quality modules in a beacon?
I don't believe so yet.
Okay. If it has, comments down in the comment section below, but I think that's what we're going to call it for this Friday Facts, because this was long, this was technical, and I'm officially done. So, Merry Christmas to everybody who's watching. We'll see you guys in, well, the 30th, the 29th.
30th?
Yeah, we've got one more Friday Facts to call out the year.
Hopefully it's a good one.
Hopefully it's a good one. Bite us.
Spiders.
One bite us. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I think we're done with this Friday Facts because I can't do any more noise operations. Mojo was far too noisy.
Yeah, I can't take all this noise anymore.
Okay, well, that's it. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next week's Friday Facts. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.